Welcome in to the show, everyone. The streets are buzzing in the Knicks verse with the playoffs. The Knicks Heat tied 1-1. Got a great guest, Coach Nick from B-Ball Breakdown, the best in the business at breaking it down. Dropped the Knicks video overnight on the Knicks offense. It's great to have you on, Coach, to talk Knicks.
Hey, my pleasure. Always love talking Knicks. Always love hanging out with you and on the show.
Yeah, the playoffs have been great so far, but this series, it's a bit of a throwback. It's gritty. It's not always pretty. The Knicks won game two. Uh, a lot of people, a lot of Knicks fans weren't happy with the way they pulled out the win, but a win's a win in the playoffs. What are your thoughts generally on just the Knicks taking that one in game two?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all excited to see Randle come back, and that was supposed to be a
Mm.
big difference for them, considering he wasn't there for game one and they lost. Um, but yeah, the Miami Heat kind of controlled that game for a long section of that, and it took some heroics in the fourth quarter to finally get control, which shouldn't have been that surprising because again they're shorthanded without Jimmy Butler. But it is a little concerning that they had that much
Yeah,
trouble in game two at home without Butler, and so they're going to have to come up with some things to, I think, defend better.
yeah. Defense is huge in terms of that. No Jimmy Butler, but it looks like he's going to be back. He's questionable, so the injury report just came out. But thankfully for Knicks fans, no Julius Randle, no Jalen Brunson on the injury report. They were, of course, hampered by the ankle. Did you notice in breaking it down in game two? Did you feel like Julius and Brunson weren't moving like their usual self?
No, I thought Randall looked great. I thought he
Mm,
was explosive. And in the video today, we talked about the Bam Randall matchup, which isn't going to happen all the time because, well, actually, it should on the Heat side. Although Bam also has to guard Mitchell Robinson, so it's a little bit different. But Randall did get Bam a couple different times. I think maybe three times and scored on him three times. And so he looked really, really good. He had a one drive on the mid post or higher near the elbow, and he blew by him for a lefty finish, an inside hand. I think Robinson even came over. So he looked great. I thought that was something. Now, he looked a lot better in the first half, at least in terms of scoring. But part of that reason, I think, was because the Heat played so much zone
mm.
that he was Randall just had a lot of bodies presented in front of him, and he was getting assists out of that then using his gravity. So I think that might be a reason. If anyone was wondering why he had a big first half scoring and then kind of trailed off, it was much more because of the zone defense than what he was, and he was doing the right thing. But Randall looked great. I thought that Brunson looked fine. I don't think he didn't look too worse for wear. And now the beauty of it is they all have this extra day till tomorrow to play again, so they should be able to, be even better or the same.
Yeah, definitely. You said it. It's very rare where the team gets the third day, which is great. It looks like Jimmy's going to play Randall and Brunson, however hampered or they are or banged up. Everyone's banged up at this time. But in terms of the offense itself, I've posted the link to the great breakdown you did in the chat. It's pinned there. Everyone check that out. It's a short 7-minute video. But the Knicks were, their three operators, Brunson, Randle, and Barrett, all had an efficient game scoring the ball. It's probably, as a Nick fan, Coach Nick, one of the best games that all three of them have had offensively, and to have it in the playoffs, which we're very positive. But it was kind of like you take your turn, I take my turn, kind of thing. The assists weren't very high, but what stood out to you the most?
Yeah, well, they don't run anything very complicated at all.
Mm,
And that's probably par for the course for Tibbs. I mean, Tibbs used to do like triangle offense stuff, and so now I think they've kind of boiled it down, and they have enough guys who can create on their own anyway. That spacing is important, and giving them lanes is important. But I do think that they were pretty well prepared to attack the zone, and the points per possession, I can call up Synergy in a second, I guess, to check just to make sure. I know it was like at least like 1.2. It was something really good. They scored on a very high number of
mm,
possessions against another high number of actual defensive zone possessions that the Heat were playing. But they seemed really prepared. They understood the seams they wanted to attack. They varied that as well, where they were in the video I showed. We talked a little bit about when they did attack the zone, they used the short roller a little bit. They also used ball screens a little bit to get into there. So that I was happy with, and I thought that they shot well and were able to generate good 3-pointers as well, which has kind of led to the win. I think that the problem they're going to have is they didn't do as well against man-to-man defense, and I suspect that Spoelstra will not do that as much. Because Jimmy Butler will be back. And I have to imagine that's why he went to like 60 some possessions of zone, some crazy like that. But he
Yep.
needs to cut it down because they were getting lit up too much.
Yeah, I noticed that in the breakdown, which you said, and I was saying last night on the show with John Schmelk about the zone. You know, you can't play it all the time. Game 3, game 4, game 5, the Knicks will have more chances to figure it out and get more comfortable. If you're a Heat guy, what would you do, coach, in terms of would you mix it up more?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, mix it up. I just play it less. You can't keep doing it
Mm,
that many times, and that was 2/3 of the possessions. I think were zone. And now here's the thing that's interesting is that Miami does show 1-3-1, and then they'll show a 2-3. So that's not exactly the same zone all the time. So I think that's what they were going for in terms of keeping them
yep.
guessing. Sometimes they bring the forward up to the wing. Other times they would have the guard play the wing. So that gets to be, I don't want to say confusing, and I don't think the Knicks were confused, but it does give the team other looks. So that is good. And by the way, their zone is probably better with Jimmy anyway. So
Mm,
they could probably find some more of those possessions where Jimmy was in there, and he can make some more of those plays too because he's used to it and he knows how to find steals, find deflections, and grab rebounds. So that might actually help them as well, just by the personnel.
yeah.
But at this point, I just get worried when I start seeing so many of those possessions, especially when you're watching the Knicks. They don't have to take too much time. They don't seem like they're getting too confused with it all. They break right into their alignment and they get right into it. The thing you have to worry about when you're going against a zone is sometimes there's indecision. The clock starts going down, and next thing you know, you're purping up a bad shot because of that. And a lot of times when you switch back to man, that first possession can get everybody screwy, and you can get a steal that way too, which is probably what the Heat see often, and they're banking on. So sometimes you
Mm.
might give up an extra score there, but okay, we're gonna get a steal on the next one because we're switching back to man. We're gonna confuse them. So it's the fun part of coaching, really.
Yeah, it's Tibbs v Spo, one of the best in the business in terms of adjustments with Spo, and he made a big adjustment because game 1 they forced Obi Toppin to shoot 11 threes, went 4 of 11, coach, and the Knicks shot 20% from 3. But RJ Barrett has been shooting the ball well, and in game 2 was a different story. It was 40% from deep. Do you think the Knicks just hit shots, or do you think they got better looks?
I thought when looking at their threes and just going through them before we started, most of them were pretty good. The Caleb Martin stuff. Let me just see. He scored. Let me get the whole game up here. Caleb Martin
Mm.
scored 22 points. I can pretty much guarantee you he won't do that again. And that was big for them. In 4 for 8 from three. And I bet you if I look it up, Caleb Martin probably shot okay from three over the season. Let me just look real
He's had a
quick.
good series. Yeah, he's definitely
Yeah.
small ball.
But let's see here. Over the season for Miami, he shot, under 36%, which is about right, a little like around average, a little under average. So again, these are the outliers where you probably get the one, but you don't get more than that in the series where they'll continue to produce like that. Now that said, that he won't. One of the reasons why you can say that is because Jimmy Butler comes back, he gets a lot more shots. Suddenly, Caleb Martin is not getting those shots, but like he hit a couple that I thought were above his pay grade.
Yeah,
And I can even thinking of one maybe that oh my goodness, the point guard, little guy.
Kyle Lowry,
No, the
Gabe Vincent.
Gabriel Vincent, thank you.
Yeah,
Hit one too from the top off of maybe a scramble that was like okay, that's good for you. They were feeling it, and that's one of the reasons again why they were able to stay competitive and be up was the 3-point shot. And that's as we get to see with the Lakers and the Warriors, it is a profound effect when you have even a 3 or 4 3-point made advantage.
mm,
That's enough of an advantage sometimes if you're either shorthanded or you have a lack of talent on your team to stay even or stay competitive and maybe steal one. So the Knicks should feel a little bit fortunate, but then again, it was probably not surprising that the Heat would conk toward the end. I was a little bit surprised that Lowry didn't have a little bit more of an effect toward down the stretch like he did after Jimmy sprained his ankle in game 1.
yeah. I thought we matched his physicality. Game 1, Kyle Lowry was a game changer. He He was stripping, he was getting steals, he was being in the right spot, being that savvy veteran. Um,
Mhm.
but if you're a guy trying to attack the zone in your breakdown, if you've got guys like Barrett, Randle, and Brunson, which are generally good physical penetrators, are they ideal players that you would want to see attack a zone?
Absolutely. I mean, especially if Barrett's going to shoot the way he is. Like what I saw
Mm.
from him in this series overall was he isn't really very good creating his own shot, multi dribble, ISO, trying to get in the lane or whatever. I don't think he's very good at that. But what he has been really good at is letting the offense work for him and function out of that, either spotting up and getting the
Yeah.
open shot and skips, or then catching and going. And if you note it, and then certainly Jalen Brunson is extremely smart, very high IQ, really understands how to attack the zone too. So he's great. Randle was able to have some success, and as we could see, like he was able to not force things and find the open man and use his gravity, which I was really impressed to see. It was really great to see. I wanted to check that real quick because in the
Yeah.
fourth quarter, Randle ended up having 3 assists, and I think if I go to the second half overall, where he had 7 points after having I think 16 in the first half. But he had 5 assists, and that was great. So
Mm.
he's learning. He seemed to surprise me a little bit on that end. So those three together, yeah. And remember, like when you're playing against the zone, the best thing you can do is set ball screens. And I think that sometimes, the NBA's kind of figure that out, but you see lower levels where, they just try and like spread the floor and like just pass the ball around. And next thing you know, the shot clock's expiring and you can't get a good shot. Meanwhile, if you treat it a little bit more like a man-to-man, you can really, still get a lot of really good shots and sort of, exploit the zone. And then the last part was, there's the seams. You got to know which seam you want to attack to basically draw two of the zone people toward you and then kick it.
Yeah.
And the big one in my mind that I developed over the last like several years of really watching the zone at the NBA level is the seam in between the guard and the forward, where we used to say, oh, you want to get baseline or you want to go in between the two guards on top, for instance. But I kind of feel like it's the other way. It's a seam that's on the wing in between, the 45-degree angle to the basket. That seems to really cause a lot of problems, primarily because we like to skip the ball now to the other side for threes, and that's where you can get an easier pass, and you can almost guarantee the weak side forward has to stay home.
Yeah, the Knicks did an excellent job at the skip pass across court, but of course there was one where Josh Hart made a timely cut to free up Barrett, also which you broke down and put in the video. I've got Randall's stats on screen, coach. Against the Heat this year in 5 games, he's averaging 6.4 assists, 9.7 rebounds, 23 points, on 46% from the field, 37% from three. So Julius Randle is a plus 20 in his 159 minutes versus the Heat. He seems to be that player where they just can't match up as well as, especially if Mitchell Robinson is dominating on the boards. If they want to put Bam on Randle, which actually I noticed in your video how many times Randle got penetration on Bam. If he's their best defender and Randle was still getting penetration on Bam, that's probably the key for the Knicks, would you say? The big man spot.
Absolutely right, because if they can play Robinson and Randall together, then
Mm.
it kind of forces the Knicks' hand. I mean, the Heat don't really have anybody else that can guard Robinson. I mean, I kind of feel like did I picture like Strus on him? I'm trying to remember like who they had to like really get down to the bottom of the barrel there
Yeah,
because they don't have a lot of size.
they got
And
Zeller and they got
right,
Caleb Martin.
yeah. And that, I mean, certainly Martin is not a guy that can handle Robinson at all in any shape or form. And you would
Mm.
expect Robinson to get any rebound he wants in the offensive end. So,
Yeah,
yeah, that's the key here with Tibbs. He's got to make sure he gets the right personnel out there that forces the Heat's hand on defense. Another reason why you saw them play zone. But the bottom line is, if I was the Heat coaching staff going through it, I'd be very concerned right now and say we got to cut down on the zone, or maybe just sort of throw up our hands and say we don't have a lot of choices in the hope that Jimmy Butler will solve a lot of that problem. But you'll see
yep.
Butler probably end up kind of matching up with Robinson in their zone or whatever, just because they need a tough guy down there that can do something, but they won't be from the height perspective.
Yeah, if I'm the Heat, I guess from what I'm seeing, the Knicks figure out the zone a bit more. They need to do the man to man some more as well. And with Jimmy Butler, like you said, a great isolation defender, he's going to help a lot. Um, Now, in terms of the broader series, like, are you feeling like after 2 games, potentially the Knicks have the edge, or do you just see it even at the moment, and we need to see game three, game four?
I don't feel honestly. I don't feel great about the Knicks right now. It didn't. It didn't
Mm,
make me feel. I mean, the one really great spot was their attack of the zone. So that gave me faith. Like they were prepared. They executed. That was a good thing. But again, the overall notion that the Heat would kind of when they were leading. I think. Let me get my the thing up here. The game flow. Oh, I got the wrong game flow up. Let me get that up here from the other day.
mm,
Where did it go? Here we go. The Heat had significant control of that game up until the end of the third quarter. And then even into the fourth quarter, they had a 5-0 run. I mean, they were up, 6 points. And I was watching the game. I was tweeting it out. I was like, I did that like whispers. The Heat
yeah,
can win this game because I think when the game started, we all just
yeah,
sort
you
of
did.
figured, they got their one win on the road. Nick Jimmy's not playing because they figured they'll just punt this one. And next thing you know, they were not punting. They were hitting some shots. So yeah, it's a concern because again, without when Butler comes back, that they're a different team too, and they'll be able to have more options to defend. So even I suppose, but remember the Heat still have the home court advantage right now. So I think that game
Yeah,
three really looms large. I think that if Butler
yeah,
is back and he's healthy at all, he's got an extra day of rest. Um, I think that might decide the series, honestly.
yeah. It is key. The Knicks have travelled really well, coach, but one of the best road records in the NBA. They've won in South Beach this year. I just think Julius Randle for me is the biggest factor, and if RJ Barrett continues to shoot well, I really trust Jalen Brunson. He's gonna he's tough. He's gonna get the Knicks looks. I think the Knicks just got to stay in the game
Mhm.
early, get the crowd. It's going to be a very pro Knicks crowd. The Knicks fans travel, expats in South Beach from New York, so there's a good vibe out there. Um, with that said, what do you think are the keys to Game Three? Given we see adjustment from game to game, what do you feel like are going to be keys from both sides to Game Three?
I think for the Knicks, they're going to have to figure out. Let me just check the. Where's my game one here? I want to
Mm,
make sure but I forgot what Butler did overall. 25 on pretty efficient shooting. So they need to be able to control
yep.
Butler better and keep him more inefficient.
Yeah.
And Butler isn't going to end up taking threes, right? So he's going to be taking shots that are close that he could be efficient with. So that's a key. They got to figure out a solution, not like who can guard him best and not get into foul trouble. And then I think Kevin Love is now starting, and I think they really got to make sure that they target him when they're on offense
Mm,
and put him in the ringer because he's always struggled defensively, and you saw them trying to do that a little bit for sure. That'll be a really big key for them too because he can hurt the Knicks with his shooting. Now, the other thing I noticed about some of the scores that he got in Game Two, there was a bit of a disorganization on defense that was a little troubling to me.
mm,
The guys were not picking up their men in transition well enough. They were getting lost in the half court too on cuts or the open threes. So they really have to clean that up. And I suppose if there is one thing that Tibbs could clean up, that would be it. Like he knows how to do that. He knows how to communicate those kind of things. And I guess stay on the team. Can we talk about Tibbs for a second? Can we talk about the way his demeanor?
yes, please.
Because
Yeah, I know you got something to say.
well, I talked about this on my live show, I think when you were on it, and then
Yeah,
it was a tweet out there too, where it's like, can the
yeah,
guy smile a little bit during the game? It's a great dichotomy between the coaches because on one end, you'll see like a great, amazing play, multiple passes, bounce passes, layup on the Knicks, whatever, and he's just, his face is really upset the whole time. And then you
yep,
see Spoelstra, and he's constantly clapping and encouraging and trying to get these guys to play up and play up over their heads. And it just seems like that, I know these are professionals. I know they've gone through all these things. They know how Tibbs is, but it just seems to me that there's a level they could get to that Tibbs could help them if he could stop, what he's doing, which is it's just like a rain cloud over his head, and it kind of seems like
mm,
it takes some of the joy out of the team. I could be talking out of turn. I've seen Tibbs do this for years and years. I've seen his teams play well and win a lot of games. But it just hit me the other day where it's like somebody needs to be encouraging here. Somebody needs to try and unlock some more stuff from them. And guys like quickly could find more energy a little bit, even like a guy like Randle, right? Randle is a guy who could turn very quickly and get sour and get upset and let that brood off for a while, and that affects his play.
yeah.
So it just seems to me that could help them if Tibbs could kind of, on the margins tweak a little bit of that, just the body language.
100% agree with you, but I don't think he's going to change as we've seen it, throughout his whole Knicks tenure and career. Um, but it seems like it could wear off on some of these younger players. They do play with some jitters, like Luke says, loyal viewer. Luke says there's jitters from Grimes and IQ, and we'll talk about some of the Knicks role players that haven't had a good playoffs. Um, Barrett's kind of strong mentally. He's more experienced than those players, but yeah, the Knicks have shown some jitters early in the Cavs series, and then now in the Heat moment when the lights are getting bright. And I think, yeah, Tom Thibodeau, that's just his style. I agree. I would love to see him, encourage more and show some brighter emotion, like I guess. But it feels like Tibbs just wants to win so badly, Coach. It's like he's putting himself in that position where he's one of the players. Like you could just see how focused he is. Now, with that said, is there anything that you feel like the Knicks could have executed better throughout game one, game two?
Yikes! What could they have executed better? Well, I mean, I think defensively they were
Or
having trouble
Tibbs,
getting
even.
stops. What's that?
Even Tibbs, sorry, yeah. Even if
Oh,
it's on the coaches or the players.
yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to like even rack my brains right now to kind of think of what was going because they were good games and they're kind of absorbing where I'm almost like just sort of in there watching and like and almost
Mm.
enjoying them versus what I normally do, which is studying and looking at the sets and all these different things. Um,
They
so
did.
yeah.
So one thing for me is they did only force Miami into 6 turnovers in game two, which I know Miami had a quick offense and they tried to get shots up quick to limit turnovers on the road on demand. But you've got to force Gabe Vincent, you've got to force the road team to more than 6 turnovers
That is
on
true. It's a
on the
very
road.
low number. I'm kind of curious, really quickly, how they
Yeah,
did in the regular season.
it stood out to me a lot.
Let's
There
see,
was,
because let's see here.
yeah,
The Heat or the Heat good at that normally? Yeah, I mean they were ninth fewest turnovers per game. So it's not like they're the
wow,
kind of team like the Warriors to throw the ball away anyway. But yeah, you need to be able to put some more pressure. I mean, Tibbs' defense tends to be the kind where they want to contain, keep them out of the middle. Don't get
yeah,
beat.
pack
So
the
you might
paint.
not see a lot of the gambling kind of stuff that would result in steals and that kind of thing. But you're right. Ultimately, if you're scrappy enough, they can, guys can make a few extra shots. But again, I thought they actually did a pretty good job on a lot of the threes that they hit. Kind of being there, and then I mean, I'm still picturing the one that Caleb Martin hit one off the dribble that was like ridiculous. I thought for him. But I'm even looking at the lineups right now because I think ultimately, when you get to a 7-game series, you get into the 3 game 4. It's the line. You got to find the lineups that are working. A, that you can use a lot more, and then B, you got to quickly ascertain which ones aren't working and get rid of those. So I'm looking right now at the advanced stats for the 5-man lineups. I don't know if you had a chance to look at this, but
No,
the starters. So in the one game, let's see. It was Hart, Brunson, Robinson, Barrett, and Toppin. That was game one starters, I think, right? Toppin
yep,
started game one.
yep.
So that was a negative 17.3 in 18 minutes. It's pretty bad for
Mm,
18 minutes in net rating. So that one, and then we didn't see it again, right? He ran that in the game one, and he didn't play that in game two, which is good. It's a good adjustment. Like, okay, we're not going to run those 5 out there again. And,
yep,
and by the way, it's a little bit quick. Sometimes one game might not be enough, but 2 games should be.
should be, yeah,
But then what we saw was Randle, Hart, Brunson, Robinson, and Barrett. Now wait, did Hart start yesterday? Or
yeah. Hart's
okay,
been starting,
starters.
yeah,
So
yep,
that was plus 36 last in game two, and so that went fabulous. And they didn't even
yep.
defend that well, but they were killing it offensively. They couldn't be stopped. So so that is the lineup that they probably should run a lot more of and see because again that's where you have your 3 best scorers. And you can go against. I'm sure that went against the zone a lot too. I'm sure that's what they were doing so well with. So that one. Now the next most played lineup is played in both games, and that was Hartenstein, Barrett, Grimes, Toppin, and Quickly. So they went to them. It looks like probably 2 different, one run in the game one and one run in game two. It looks like. And that's been terrible too. They got blown out negative 23.6. So that's another one. So, and I wonder why that is. So you have Hartenstein and Toppin. And you talked about what Grimes, might hasn't been playing well. He might be overcome by the moment of being in the second round for the first time. I don't know. Quickly,
Just
I like a little bit what I saw from Quickly. He doesn't seem like a guy who's going to be intimidated, but he still doesn't have the experience. And Toppin, not really either. So that's another
yeah.
one of those ones they might have to kind of trim away and not go to again.
Yeah, with Grimes, it's fascinating, coach. He only played 10 minutes in game one because he was coming back off of injury and
Hmm.
he was limited. And he also obviously wanted Josh Hart to match up with Jimmy Butler. Now, no Jimmy Butler in game two, so he played Grimes a little bit more, but still wanted to start Josh Hart. And everyone's expecting Josh Hart to continue to start. The fact that he likes to mirror his minutes with Jimmy's
Yeah.
minutes and be the primary defender. Although Grimes did close the game out, and the Knicks defense were able to get stops late. So Grimes still remains one of the New York Knicks' best perimeter defenders with Josh Hart, and Emmanuel quickly thrown in there as well. Um, yeah,
And I love Grimes. I wish he would get more minutes because this is really good experience for him for his
yeah,
career. But I get it, and you're right. And listen, I love Josh Hart too, and Josh Hart's a guy who needs to play, and he played very well for the most part with them. He was the one who hit the three in the right corner, right on the foul.
two big threes.
Right, the two big threes, and one of them was
Yep,
the gosh, who was it? Bam tried to go through Hartenstein.
yep. That was
Yeah,
Bam. Yeah,
that was kind of a fascinating. It's funny. I was at a Division III game earlier this year, and I saw the same exact play. But they didn't have replay, so the
yeah.
referee had a guess of like when did the guy get fouled versus when was the release of the ball. It was great to see them actually, have the replay and go through it and get it right, which is what they counted it. Although the funny thing was for me, they counted the three and they gave him a one free throw, right?
Yep.
So, had the foul come
It
before
was
he, what was the rule? They said it had to be
it
in the
was up.
shooting motion, right?
Yep.
It's not release, it's the shooting motion. Yeah, it was very, very close. And I think I
Yeah.
remember even, you have to forgive me because I've already been going through like six other games since then. But
So they were a
my
little fortunate
my
because they
instinct
called the
was
foul later.
right, right. Oh, I know what it was. Yeah, exactly. The
Yep.
foul could have started. There was like a half of a second of leeway where you could have decided when the foul started, and if you did it
Yeah.
when it happened, it was before he shot it, and they shouldn't have counted it. So, again, fortunate because without that, that was a big moment in the game that kind of got the separation they needed. So, um, yeah, well, and now they're on the road, and it's not even though there's a lot of New Yorkers around in Miami, it's going to be hostile. And I don't know. I do. This will be a great chance to prove it to me. I don't know. Is Barrett going to handle that well? I don't feel like he will, but
Mm.
it's a great chance for him to prove it. Randle, I don't know. Brunson's the one guy I think will bring it, and he will not be intimidated by the crowd, I would be shocked if he didn't play, pretty close to what we expect from him.
Yeah. The big change in game one and game two, coach, with Brunson was he went 0 of 7 from three in game one, did not hit a single three pointer, and then obviously was splashing them in game two together with Josh Hart, who hit four big threes also. So yeah, the 3-point shooting is really key. I think Jimmy Butler obviously coming back is going to be key. But do you feel like the Miami role players have played, you said above their pay grade, which is great, on the above the stats on the back of their basketball card? It just seems like they're getting the maximum out of Gabe Vincent, who's surprised me. But in terms of Kyle Lowry, he's becoming a playoff player for the moment also. Has anything surprised you on both sides?
Yeah, well, let's see. Has anything surprised me? Not really. I mean, I kind of feel like these are throwback games, somewhat low scoring, so it's almost like, we're watching games like, we used to see, when this was a big rivalry back in the day, right? A little bit. Although I think those
Mm.
games were what, like 93 to 89, stuff like that. Although, wait, didn't we just see that? It wasn't this series. Who just played that way? Was it Philly and Boston? No. Somebody had a
Um,
ridiculously low scoring playoff game. It wasn't this one, right? It was oh my goodness gracious. Someone in the comments will.
Cleveland was Cleveland 79 points
Oh,
against
well,
the
yeah, the
Knicks.
whole Cleveland series was like that, right? New
Yeah,
York, held them under 100 points all those times. That might have been it,
yeah,
but the other team was also scoring really lowly. Was really low. Anyway, this is my brain these days in the middle of the second round.
yeah. So much
So
footage.
Yeah, it's a lot, and you know, when I'm getting woken up in the middle of the night every night these days, it's like my sleep pattern is very disrupted. Don't let that happen to you. My watch will measure my sleep, and it yells at me every morning
Oh
that I'm
yeah,
not getting enough.
got to need that sleep.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I think maybe after this round is done, it'll really, be the final four, and I can kind of, relax a little bit. But yeah, trying to get a video out every day. So anyway, the question was, what is there anything surprising to me? And I don't really think so. This is sort of like we expected. A bit of a grind out, a bit of a
Mm,
struggle. Especially compared to like something like what we're seeing with the Warriors, right? Which is they're just spacing the floor and raining threes down at an unprecedented pace. Which, by the way, like I was actually looking at this because I wanted to see the individual games. So in game one, is this game one? Let me make sure I have all my tabs right. In game one, the three. I always look at the 3-point makes. That's a really big indicator for me in the modern era of what who might win.
yeah.
So the Heat hit 13 and the Knicks hit 7 and they won. And teams that will score, six or more threes than the other opponent will win 85% of the time, right around that time. So that was not a surprise, right? I mean, what was surprising, I suppose, was that Gabe Vincent in the first game hits 5 of them, right? And that's a surprise because he's not the kind of guy that normally would take 12.
Mm,
And then on the flip
yeah.
side, the Knicks are not a great 3-point shooting team, right? Wait, are they? They're not.
No, no.
I checked this out before. They don't wait, but they do shoot a lot, right? I almost feel like
Yep,
I looked at it. Is that right?
yep.
So I'm just going to check there for the regular season, the Knicks 3-point frequency was, top 10 or 11. Wait, 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So they do shoot a lot of them, or relatively, and yeah, they don't make that many. They were down toward the bottom in terms of percentage. So that's a problem because now, by the way, let's do the flip side. Look at the Heat. So the Heat don't shoot them well at all, at least as far as percentage from the regular season. But they take a bunch of shoots. So this is interesting. Normally, you're not going to see both teams sort of be bad at 3-point shooting like that, and then take as many as they do. So this is the variance we're going to get. This is why you could probably say it's going to be a 7-game series. It's going to be wild and back and forth. No one's going to
Mm,
win 2 in a row. You know what I mean? That kind of probably feels like that to me.
a
Um,
dogfight. Yeah,
a dog fight, right? And everyone's clamoring, and you got two coaches who are really tough and who have defenses that are physical. So that's going to contribute to even when you're open, going through physical cuts and they cut bodies on you. Even when you get open, it doesn't feel like you're open anymore, and we've seen that in the
yep.
past as well. So that's going to be probably the name of the game here. In game two, let's look at that real quick. Where's my game two? Game two. Who won the battle? Is this game two? The Knicks won game two, yeah. So Miami had 17 threes, which is a lot. And then the Knicks had 16. So they actually got outscored by 1 3-pointer, which explains a little bit more of what was keeping them in the game that whole time. In fact, part of me feels like they hit a lot of threes in the second half. Am I crazy? Let's see. The Knicks hit 9, a little bit more than
Yeah,
half the threes in the
Knicks
second half.
closed it
So
out.
yeah, but meanwhile, the Heat hit 7 in that second half. So again, I think that's going to be a big key because those 3-point bombs, especially in the lower scoring games, are even more significant. So just keep your eye on how they're going to generate those, and as long as the Knicks don't get lost like they did a couple times to give up some open threes, then they should be able to keep that close or win that battle.
Yeah, they're going to have one great chance to win a game in South Beach in game 3, 4, and 6. I expect the Knicks to take care of business in 5. But one thing I have noticed, you mentioned the physicalness, Coach. Bam Adebayo, have you noticed some of those screens getting a bit technical with the moving of the feet?
Everybody complains, and it's not like I think in America for some reason here people think that it has to be like an offensive lineman before the snap where you can't move, and it's not
Mm,
really that. And a lot of times, if you're moving around and the defender's trying to get around you, and there really isn't a lot of contact, it's not a moving screen. There's got to be significant contact, which is unfortunate, which is why you have to see a guy go flying a lot of the times to be an illegal screen. So,
mm,
nothing really stood out to me. I'll watch for it in game 3 and really keep an eye out for that. But I remember, was it Caleb Martin decides to just shoulder block somebody in game two. Do you remember who this was? And they called him, and he got a technical, I think, for it, maybe.
I know Barrett did. I know Barrett.
Was it Barrett?
Barrett retaliated on one.
Oh, is that? I tweeted this one out. Was it
Yeah,
Barrett?
it was
Maybe it was on
Barrett. Yeah,
Caleb Martin. Maybe that was what it was. Where, oh yeah, it was right because they were so frustrated. I didn't get that they were like that frustrated by the other screens, and so I'm just going to lay somebody out. But it was weird. Like, okay, make your point, but like you're going to complain about that, like to the ref, because the ref really had no choice on that one, and it doesn't really help your case. Like if you're going to argue the obvious calls. Then you're not helping yourself with the referees. Now, if you're trying to make a point that the other team is setting too many illegal screens, I don't think, and call me crazy, but I don't think that setting your own ridiculously tough screen like that is the answer. Placing a foul and giving them free throws potentially is not the answer.
Frustration more than anything.
The answer is go flying on the next one. When Bam sets another screen, you go flying, run into him, take him out there, at least force him to try and make a call for something on that end. But the fact that you would do it and then you're going to bitterly complain was just so strange to me. So and by the way, there's no if Bam is doing it, then you should be doing it, right? And I, call me crazy, but besides that one, they weren't calling illegal screens on the Knicks, were they?
No, they weren't. No. Isaiah Hartenstein was setting some good screens. He freed up Brunson for a few of those deep looks, which was big. Freeing up Brunson, he's a smaller dude. He needs a bit of separation to be able to get that thing off. Grimes, part of the reason why I love Grimes so much, he can get his shot off so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Quentin Grimes, he rises up and he actually has such a high release where even if you contest it well, you've almost got no chance of blocking it. Quentin Grimes got a beautiful form. Emmanuel Quickley's shot's very low. It's more of a push shot.
Yeah. Well, here's the irony about that, by the way, is the lower releases could be quicker because you're getting through that spot and up and out lower, earlier than having to get it up to where the set point is for higher shooters, which we don't see a ton of them anymore because of that. We don't see that. We're not going to see a KD guy anymore. I don't think going forward where it's way over the head and off the side a little bit because it does take longer unless you're really tall like he is. So that's another interesting thing where it's like, well, it's low, so you're gonna get blocked, but no, it's low, so you can get it off quicker and it won't get blocked. It's one of those chicken or egg things. So, but I find it interesting, and in fact, the lower set point in my mind now, it could very well be better if you're talking about distance shooting. And I also bring that up because I tortured players of mine for years and years for higher and higher because that was what supposedly the right way to do it. And I apologized to them years later, and I still feel bad about doing that because that they didn't have to. I had a guy who shot like Steph or like Nash, and he was just dead eye, didn't miss, and I was sitting there trying to get him to get it higher. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah. So you're more thinking like the Knicks have their chance in Game 3, but they have to capitalize. But you have more confidence in the Heat producing on their home floor at the moment.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. So let's go. Game 3 is crucial. I think Game 3 might end up deciding the series, right? Because that's going to give you that control that you might need. Because you don't want to give a team 2 wins in a row. It used to be before the 3-point era, the first team to win two games in a row would win the series like 80% of the time. And it doesn't. I don't think it happens that way anymore because of the 3-point shot. So. But in this kind of series, even though they were making threes in the other game, I think it's not going to keep up. So yeah, I think that would be a worry about the Knicks. They can't give that second. I'm sorry, the Knicks won the second one. So they if they win the Game 3, then I think they take
momentum.
Because then let's just say it's 2-2. Now they win the game 5 at home. That's big. So that's really important. And I think if you're looking at like who's going to perform on the road and what the question marks are, then I think it's RJ Barrett. I think they need a big game from RJ Barrett to win, right? I think he needs to get his 20 some points and be
Yep.
somewhat efficient and not missing the shots around the rim, not turning it over. So if he does that, then yeah, I would feel pretty good about the Knicks' chances because I feel like Randall's going to give you Randall stuff even if he's inefficient. I think Brunson's going to be good. So and then the margins, like okay, who would be the other guy? There might be one other guy like quickly who could do some damage, but I think it's Barrett is going to be the key, and we'll probably figure it out pretty quickly. I mean, in my mind, if Barrett comes out in the first quarter and isn't doing well, then I don't know if he's turning that around, and that would be a real problem for the Knicks.
No, I think yeah, you're on the money, and a lot of Nick fans feel the same way because Butler, Brunson, Randle can cancel each other out, Bam. But everyone feels like without the Heat having Hero, Barrett steps up big, and the Knicks just have too many weapons.
Mhm.
There's only so many games Kyle Lowry, Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson can play perfect, and I think they've played close to perfect in all of their games. And no knock on them. They're solid role players that have allowed the Heat to get to where they're at. But for the Knicks, yeah, if Barrett can give them 20 plus, Randall 20 plus, Brunson 20 plus, and on the road is going to be absolutely huge. Coach, of all people, to win on the road, you need to play with a steady hand, limit your turnovers, hit shots early, take the crowd out of it.
Oh yeah, and by the way, I was wondering what was going on with Kyle Lowry in the fourth
Mm,
quarter because he kind of seemed like he conked. Without Butler, he had to play the entire fourth quarter, and he had played the last 4 minutes of the third quarter. Wait, am I looking at the right line here? That doesn't sound right. Yeah.
who,
Okay. So Kyle Lowry, right, because he's coming off the bench. And so even though he didn't play in the beginning of the third quarter, like he had to play 16 straight minutes.
yeah,
And that's going to wear you down, and that's another reason why they have to, like for the Heat at least, they have to figure out a way because Lowry, I guarantee, will be the guy if the Heat win any of these games. He'll be making plays deep in the fourth quarter alongside Jimmy. They're going to need that to happen. So they can't have him so tired at the end there, and that won't happen, I guess, with Jimmy in theory. So look for that one too. And then I'm just looking at the way they played. I think
yeah,
Tibbs was able to have a nice lineup going there where they didn't have to deal with guys getting too tired at the end, which is another reason why they were able to take the game. Looking at the flow chart here, yeah, all those guys, they did the last 7 minutes, and so they were fresh and they had a good rest before that. So that's another important one. Obviously, foul trouble becomes another issue there, and how they can manage that. But I don't think we haven't had an issue with that yet, right?
no, no. Butler obviously being out, like, just touching on him lastly, what's the game plan from the Knicks side of things and how, Butler coming off with that ankle and we know how ankles are. Do you feel like that's also the key to the series? Like how does Jimmy look?
I would say that first of all, go after him on the defensive end.
Mm,
Have his man set the ball screen for Brunson, and have him switch and find out. Let's find out if he can move. Let's find out if you can get a foul on him
yeah,
or two.
target him.
Yeah, because if he's taking a little easy, then maybe you get the easy shot. And if he can't move as well, maybe you get a foul or two on blocking calls. And that they have to get him out of the game. I mean, that's got to be the real focus there is somehow get him out of the game with the fouls or whatever. So that would be one. And then you could with a lot of the lineups, if I could find the lineups that he plays in most, where did that go? Let me switch over to here to the Miami because what I'm thinking they should shadow him. When he has the ball because again a lot of the times there's going to be at least one guy on the Knicks on the Heat where you don't need to be so close and concentrate on him. So if I look at here, oh let me get yeah. So where's
I would
Butler?
force him to jump shoot. I want to make Jimmy beat me jump shooting, like limit his ability to get to the cup, and Mitchell Robinson staying out of foul trouble is
Yeah,
going to be
no,
big.
I mean you get worried because you don't want to give Jimmy too many shots from the perimeter and let him get comfortable because
Yeah,
then you can play off Jimmy and
he
it's a
can
real
light you
problem.
up.
He's not way out. He just starts shooting out of his mind. But like for instance, the most played lineup they had in game one was Love, Butler, Adebayo, Vincent, and Struess. That's a little bit tough. You can't leave Struess. You can't leave Love.
Oh,
Adebayo is going to be somewhere
yeah,
near the basket. You don't want to leave either. So Vincent would be the one guy. I mean, that's a tough one. And then the next played lineup they had was Lowry, Butler, Adebayo, Martin, and Vincent. And Martin would probably be the guy, and maybe Vincent too, where you can kind of shadow off of him a little bit and then rotate out. That would be something I would try and do and really just force anybody but Jimmy to take the shot and to do something with it. The only thing you have to be worried about then is a guy like, Adebayo at the high post doing some stuff, but that's the question of how do they match up with that? And Robinson, can he handle that, or if it's Randle on him or something like that, then that'll be a big key for the defense.
Yeah, a tight whistle that could change the game completely. If they call it in favor of or tight in favor of Miami and get guys in foul trouble, is going to be key. For me, coach, it's ball pressure. I said the 6 turnovers for Miami. The Knicks have to force Miami into more turnovers than 6. That's a little over 1 per quarter for a point guard. That's not exactly a star-studded, all-star point guard. Got to force them into tougher. Make them pass the ball around a lot. Rotate better. The Knicks. Did you notice how many miscommunications there were on the switches that allowed a wide open Miami Heat 3? One of them was a Kevin Love one right on halftime, where
Yeah.
Brunson just literally forgot to. He didn't know. Like, am I going to move up and switch or not?
Yeah, it was troubling. There was some lack of communication and just enough times where I was like, the guy who was like, oh crap, and like had to try and run and get a hand up. It was just like 3 steps behind. You can't have that in the playoffs. I mean, that seems crazy to me. But yeah, that was happening. I'm trying to find like forced turnovers and whether or not the Knicks were good at that. Do we know that stat from the regular season?
Pretty average, not great. Look, the Knicks allow 3-point shots. They like to close out hard, pack the paint.
Right, exactly.
But
Well, hang on.
but
Here it is.
yeah,
So the Knicks
quickly do some
NFL, let me go back
pride.
to the regular season. The regular season opponent turnover rank.
Mm.
Sorry. The number one was OKC, forced almost 17 a game, and the Knicks were 25th in the league at that at 12.7. So don't hold your breath that they're going to suddenly start forcing a lot of turnovers. I don't think that that's their game. You know what I mean? They're not going to get spread out to try and pressure more. They don't have those guys. So that
They
is
don't
that is the
trap.
thing.
Yeah, they don't trap often, coach. That's what I've noticed. Tom Thibodeau doesn't like zone. He doesn't like blitzing, trapping very much. He just likes to pack the paint, close
Yeah,
out.
but I do feel like he's good at, and what they could be good at is shadowing Butler by bringing a guy like to the block if he is at the wing. I can kind of picture that. I feel like he's done that before, and if not, they
Yeah,
better because you can eliminate, by bringing a big over to the, let's say on the right wing, you put it on the right block. Then he can't drive at that point, and he doesn't necessarily want to shoot it from deep. And that might get it out of his hands without having to double him and get completely out of position. Then you can rotate on the backside there. So watch for that. I would hope they would do something like that again because Butler is a one-man force who's proven over and over again that he'll just carry a team. And even if you're up by like 10 with 4 minutes to go, whatever it is, he'll still step in there. Next thing you know, it's tied and
yeah.
they're winning at the buzzer.
He lives at the line. Also, what are your thoughts on Jimmy's ability to get to the line? He's got to be probably elite and one of the top 5 players at drawing fouls.
Yeah, I wonder if it's all like he's got like his spin move is really good and gets into the body and then he's up into the shot like as you're still trying to recover from that. I wonder if there's a thing like the players that do the most spin moves get more free throws. I wonder if that would be a thing because it seems to me for him that way. He's so physical as it is, and not only does he get the fouls, but he's punishing you while you're doing it. Good pump fakes as well. He's very savvy. Not easy to guard that guy. And to me, if I was planning against it, I would probably, really give him a lot of threes and let him have some space to shoot them. And only if he really got red hot and was starting to make like 3 or 4 in a row would I maybe change it up.
Mm.
But otherwise, I wouldn't want to have anything to do with him near the paint.
That's why I think Tibbs's preference is to go with the experience in Josh Hart.
Yeah.
Quentin Grimes, a young fella who's, second year and might be prone to pick up a few early fouls. I think there was a game where Jimmy had close to 20 free throws, got to the line, like 20 free throws. It was unbelievable. But I would love to get a prediction from you, coach. How does the story end in this series? You said, I think you
Well,
mentioned 7. Could you see it going 7 more than likely, or do you think it just depends on game 3?
Well, I mean, I think 7. I feel good about 7. maybe it's just me because I like seven. It's good for business, but
Yeah.
I like seven. It seems like these teams are kind of evenly matched in a way where that would probably be like, that would make sense to me. So let's just say seven. Now, the problem with that, oh no, it's not a problem. Game seven's in the Garden. And again, if you're talking about a game
Yeah.
seven, and if you're going to choose the visiting team, then you're going to be choosing the side that wins 20% of the time, right? Not very often. So it wouldn't be a real safe bet to say that the Heat would win in seven. So yeah, I can go with that. Let's go 7 games and let's go Heat winning in a grind out, low scoring seventh game at home.
Okay. So you could see the Heat winning on the road in Game 7.
I can't. No, I'm saying that
The Knicks. Yeah, the Knicks have home court if they
right,
win one. Yeah, if it gets to 7.
right. So
Yeah.
in Madison Square Garden, game seven, right? I say the Knicks win.
Okay. Yeah. No, it
So
sounds good. Like you, we all love a Game 7, but when my team's involved, it's tense. It's
yeah.
tight. But I love what you mentioned during this episode, which was experience. The Knicks are gaining experience. Grimes, Toppin, quickly. Do you feel like the Knicks are ahead of schedule in terms of playing? They're the youngest rotation in the playoffs, 24 years old.
Huh. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome, and Toppin has gotten some, has been played well. He's looked also somewhat comfortable. Sometimes you see the guys they're having trouble dealing with it, and I think that they're all doing fine with this. It would just be nice if Tibbs would give him a pat in the butt a couple times and just smile and something to encouragement, visually. But yeah, I think this is ahead of schedule, on schedule, either way. I mean, because these guys are not like rookies anymore, so it's like they're on schedule. They're doing nicely, and I guess in the grand scheme
True.
over like the 5 year plan, I think that they're on their way. I'm trying to there's guys that they probably have to upgrade a little bit if they want to make the next jump. But let's see how
Yeah.
Barrett is the guy who you kind of have to upgrade if he doesn't do well enough in this series overall. But I mean, I need to text Drew Hanlon and find out if he really adjusted his shot in the middle of a series because obviously it worked, I suppose. But I don't know, the idea that you would adjust the position of the ball on your set point between or before game one or between games one and two sounds kind of crazy to me. But it works or whatever
Well,
worked. Did you notice that, by the way? Did you see that the ball was somewhere different in a set point?
yeah, yeah, quicker release, and we heard that. But have you ever heard anything like that before? A player changing it at this point in time?
Well, quicker is not a big deal, and that's rhythm. That's fine. But if he was shooting like this and then he moved it like over there in one session, and then I don't know. I mean, first of all, I would be surprised if it actually worked. Like he would then do it. You know what I mean? You have all that muscle memory. You're not necessarily going to be able to do that easily. And I
Yeah.
would be a little wary, I think, of doing something like that in between games. But hey, whatever. The proof is in what we saw in game two, and we'll see if it continues in game three.
5 good games in a row or solid games. So yeah, you're on the money in terms of him being an X factor. And yeah, would love to hear if you do reach out to Drew Hanlon and see if we can hear from that. But everyone, yeah, Coach Nick, follow at BBALLBREAKDOWN. The link pinned in the chat for the Knicks Heat breakdown on the offense. Game 3 is going to be pivotal. It's always great to talk, Coach, and enjoy these playoffs.
I appreciate it. You too. Thanks for having me on, and we'll see. We'll see how if anything I said was right.
Yeah, and maybe ECF versus Boston. Wait, quickly, Boston, Philly. Who do you think gets through?
I don't feel great about either of these teams, honestly.
Yeah,
The East is weird. I don't know how well. I mean, when you're looking at teams like Denver, I don't see anybody stopping Denver all the way through. Um,
okay. Yeah,
but the Sixers and Celtics, man. I mean, I don't know because it was weird. Embiid comes back and he was look okay, and yet they couldn't take it and they didn't play that great. Again, the game three probably ends up looming extremely large on this one. I don't feel great about the Celtics though. I'll tell you that right now. I feel less great about the Celtics than I do about the Sixers. It is some
yeah,
strange primordial, I don't know, coaching thing
yeah.
antenna. So I might feel somehow a little bit better about the Sixers, and so watch for them to take control of the series.
Me too. I just don't feel like they're the same. Joe Mazzulla is obviously doing an okay job, but they just don't look like the same team. Um, yeah, and very, very vulnerable. The Knicks actually beat Boston 3-1. So if the Knicks get through, Knicks fans are feeling good about a ECF if they can get through.
Knicks Boston, yeah. I mean, and
Mm.
they're actually well positioned to guard the Sixers too a little bit. Like, how does Robinson do against Embiid?
He tries his best. I think it's a very tough matchup, but I think Embiid generally gets the better of him. But Mitch, if he does struggle, it's getting in foul trouble. I mean,
Okay.
one thing that frustrates me with Embiid is the flopping. I mean, I'm a little bit over the flopping with Embiid. Talk about Butler. Embiid gets the whistle, like,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah, he does. He does. But he's also just an overpowering presence who won the MVP and probably deserved it. It's so funny about when we say Mitchell Robinson because do you watch What We Do in the Shadows?
no,
You don't know this show about the
no,
vampires?
haven't seen.
Anyway,
What?
there's a character called Colin Robinson, and they call him Colin Robinson. They don't call him Colin; they call him Colin Robinson. And I always think about Mitchell Robinson
Sure.
when I hear it, which makes me laugh. So watch that show, everybody out there. It's a hilarious show. It's actually a movie first that was really, really good, and now it's a great TV show. So, and we'll find out if if the Knicks are going to end up being vampires who can't be killed. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see. Either way, I didn't expect us to be in the second round. Here we are, 1-1, and it's all there ahead of us. We'll see how good Jalen Brunson is. We'll see how good RJ Barrett is and Julius Randle in these playoffs. And the Knicks role players can Quickly or Grimes step up. And we'll talk soon. And keep up the great work and the breakdowns, the videos, and enjoy.
I appreciate it. Thanks. And everybody, please watch the video that I dropped today like a couple times just to get some extra views in there. I'd be really appreciative.
Mm.
I'll come back anytime you want. I'll be back. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it. And I love the music, the original music. I think a lot of people love to hear that.
Yeah. Well, you give me an epic game and I'll use the epic
Yeah.
music that everyone loves for sure.
Game 7, you'll bring it out.
Yeah, for
If it,
sure. I mean, yeah, that's a good time
uh,
for it. Not every game is epic. Not every edit is epic, but when it is, and we do the
yeah,
beat drop, I will make sure I'll use it.
sounds good. Hopefully, we get a smile out of Tibbs for you.
Oh man, I could only hope. Wouldn't that be nice?
It would. Yeah. Thanks, Coach. Take care.
Thanks.
Yeah. Coach Nick, ladies and gentlemen, B-ball breakdown, CT on the solo. Here to shout out the chat, Knicks Nation, everyone. How we feeling right now? Gearing up, ready for a big game 3. Like Coach spelled out, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be tough. Um, you know, series go that way, adjustment after adjustment. But I feel like the series is just really beginning for me, game 3, because game 1, no Julius Randle. Game 2, no Jimmy Butler. Game 3, we're most likely going to see everybody. We're going to see everybody at South Beach, obviously. So the series kind of starts now. The Heat have wrestled home court back. It's up for the Knicks to take one of these ones, or 2 of them, or 3 of them, hopefully, and wrestle control of this series. There's so many factors. The officiating, Tony Brothers in game 1, Scott Foster in game 2, Heat fans, Knick fans going back and forth. Who got the favorable whistle in one of the games, both games? They certainly have made mistakes, but what else is new? They made mistakes all season long. Definitely the shot clock violation. We've all been on the wrong end of that. It's not a reviewable play, which is frustrating. But that's just the way the whistle goes, the bounce of the ball. Talk to these NBA legends; they've all been on the wrong end of the bounce of a ball. Um, but that's why it's even more important you control what you can control, so that you take care of business. If you're a fan of UFC or boxing or combat sports, you don't want to leave things up to the judges. You want to knock the other opponent out cold, knock them out, so that you don't have to wait on no refs or judges or any of that. But having said that, obviously I'm looking for the Knicks to, they need to defend better. Um, Too many open looks for Robinson, Kevin Love, Max Strauss did hit a lot of tough shots, so you tip your cap. Gabe Vincent hit a ton of tough shots. I tip my cap, to him. But for the most part, the Knicks hit their open shots, and like we talked about with Coach, if the Heat continue to go zone, then it's figure that out, and take advantage of that. So the shooting's going to be key. Julius Randle shooting 37 odd % from three against the Heat in 5 games, hit the buzzer beater in South Beach. I'm looking for Randle to really put his stamp on this series. Had a good game 2, missed game 1, had a very up and down Cleveland series. Hopefully the 3 days rest and we get the most efficient and powerful Julius Randle is the real factor in this series in terms of the Heat just not having that matchup. Now, how many bodies do Tibbs and the Knicks throw at Jimmy Butler? How does he look? Is going to be huge. Jimmy, that ankle, even in 3 days, it's certainly got to be feeling better. But I don't think that it's a situation where that he's gonna take over the game all the time. I think we've got a lot of different looks, that we can throw at Jimmy in terms of Hart, Grimes, and all of that. Whoever closes it out is going to be big. We'll continue to keep an eye out on the live action as well. Give us your predictions on how you're feeling about this. Appreciate everyone buzzing, hitting that like button. And Dirty says, feeling confident. Think Jimmy at half speed is a detriment. It remains to be seen how loose he looks, but also the ego element. He knows he's the best team on the Heat. Is he just going to try to take over and dominate, or did the Heat get the ball moving to the shooters? Now we got the shot chart for the Knicks on screen in game 2. Obviously with the zone, they took away the mid-range. So you see everything basically in the paint and you see everything from 3. Now the Knicks shot 40% from 3. So that was absolutely huge. And at the top was Jalen Brunson. Brunson's shot chart on screen. You see those nice 4 deep makes on the wing. That's a nice pocket Brunson likes to get into, curl off the screen and rise up. He's either going to draw the foul or he's going to hit the bucket, and get a wider look. So that's good. Brunson's 3-point shooting, 0 of 7 in game 1. We all know that the Knicks win game 1 if the Knicks don't shoot 40%. So that's going to be big. The Knicks shooting on the road, we've been a great road team all season. So that gives me extra confidence that we're going to go into South Beach and either win game 3, 4, or 6. Obviously, we don't want to leave it too late. The earlier, the better. I am expecting game 3 to be the most competitive game, like a la a game 1. It's the feeling out situation. So I do feel like they have that opportunity to steal game 3, the biggest of all. And I feel like 3 days to scheme, look at the tape like we all looking at and debating and chopping it up. It's going to be big. I think these players are so hungry. Jalen Brunson and Randle, Barrett's got confidence now. It's only a matter of time before the next role player steps up. It took Barrett a couple of playoff games, and he answered the call. And interestingly, got with Drew Hanlon, the coach, and figured some things out. Don't rule out Emmanuel Quickly, Quentin Grimes. Just trying to get back to basics is all we need. Even if Grimes can hit 2 of 3, nothing high volume, but if he can just shoot efficiently, he's going to open things up. What up, OC? Big up. How we feeling after this? 1-1. This is the pressure cooker that the New York Knicks have lived in the 90s. We back. Now, OC says Knicks in 6. Yep. I'm thinking the same. I'm not changing my mind. Good minds think alike. I think the Knicks can take Game 3 and take a lot of confidence to try to finish this series out. Now, the news today, no Brunson, no Randle on the injury report, only Jericho Sims. So letting it be known to everyone, no smoke, we're ready to go, right? No, not even questionable. So that's fascinating. They could have easily put one or both of those guys on the injury report to say questionable, but they decided no one's questionable, ready to go. How are we feeling about that? Nick Streets. Jimmy Butler, however, is on the injury report as questionable. So I think Josh Hart continues to start. See how it goes. Obviously, you try to mirror his minutes. If Hart picks up a few early fouls, we'll see Grimes obviously come in, but we might see Barrett also shift, quickly come in, maybe sooner. And speaking of Emmanuel Quickly, his chart on screen, Emmanuel Quickly went 0 of 4 from deep. Interestingly, all 4 of those looks were top of the key, trying to burst the zone. A couple of late shots towards the elbow in the key, in the paint. And I think, Emmanuel Quickly looked nice towards the end of the game. I just think he needs to stick to his normal mindset, which is attack. Continue to stay aggressive. Just don't be indecisive. I think that's what kills you. We can handle a missed shot, but when you get indecisive, you create the opportunity for the other team to get a turnover, those kinds of things. The moment you stay aggressive, you always got the defense moving and scrambling, and not quite knowing, not able to get comfortable, not knowing what you're going to do if you just continue to stay aggressive. But on that note, you need to be short, quick, decisive moves, right? If you grab the ball on the half step, go into the teeth of the zone or the defense, and then kick it out if there's traffic. Tom Thibodeau always says, read and react. Take what the defense is giving you. I feel like Quickly and Grimes are a victim at times of making up their mind already, predetermining what they're going to do, and then they try to change their mind late, and then it's just too late. They kick the ball out of bounds, or, a backcourt violation, or those kinds of things. Old Head says 3 days off, big benefit for rest. We need to recover. Yeah, it's very rare in the playoffs. We get to see 3-day rest, which is great for this series. We're going to see the best of everyone, I think. And, we hate injuries at this time of year. So I want their best versus our best. Let's bring it. Knicks won today, says RJ adding a midi to his game and he's skyrocketing. I like RJ's quick decisions as well. Like I mentioned, fam, getting into that teeth of the D. There's been a lot of people break down some videos with Barrett already, understanding that when he's about to catch the ball, he could gain a step on his opponent. 6'7", he's heavy, he's built, he's tough to knock off his spot with a running start. And I think that's big. That's been working for Barrett. The shot release obviously looks a bit refined and it looks smooth. A couple of those swishes were beautiful. Less arc on the shot, but it was just a nice wrist action, and it went straight through. Yeah, nothing but nylon. Shooting with confidence. RJ Barrett, right? Keep it up. 5 excellent games in a row, and he was super key to the New York Knicks staying in the game. In game 2. What would be more impressive for me is if Barrett produces on the road. He produced late against Cleveland at home. He didn't produce in Cleveland at the beginning of that series, but he started to produce. Now he's starting to figure things out. I think we can see a Grimes or a Emmanuel Quickly figure some things out. Is Tom gonna expand some rotation? Might we see a Deuce McBride? Probably not in game 3. I'll be surprised if we do end up seeing Deuce McBride, it'll probably mean somebody's in foul trouble or we're down 11, and we need a spark. I would love to see some Deuce McBride. I really would. White Falcon Salute says we need McBride. That's the little adjustments I want to see Tom Thibodeau throw in. Don't wait till we're down 8 or 9. Might we be up 1 and we throw Deuce McBride out there to try to throw them off a little bit, pressure Gabe Vincent and the Heat into more than 6 turnovers as well. Imagine how comfortable the Heat are going to be if we only force 6 turnovers. That's not great as well. What's up, Greeny? Salute. Yeah, we're buzzing right now. Yeah, McBride's been hitting shots later in the season, but it's a situation where, in the playoffs, it's a risk. Throwing out Deuce also at this time is a risk. But, with risk comes reward, as we always like to say. For us betting men or gambling men, also, risk can come reward. But I'm not expecting Deuce McBride to play 7-8 minutes, just throw him out there for, a few possessions to close out the half, close out the second or the third. That's normally when the Knicks get cheese. They leave Kevin Love open, or, somebody hits a ridiculous deep shot or something crazy. Also, you're giving him playoff experience as well. If you're a dude coaching for the future, you want to try to give these guys some burn. Avoid the potential for Jalen Brunson to roll his ankle, or limit his time on the court late in the quarters. Keep him fresh. Just think outside the box, man. Think outside the box. But yeah, Knicks Nation, the best fan base in the biz. The chat's buzzing, hitting that like button. Talk to Coach Nick about the Knicks figuring out the zone. Finally, the Knicks were great in Game 2. I think Julius Randle deserves a lot of credit for passing out of the doubles. Looks like a completely different player compared to the Atlanta series, 2 years ago. He is the player I have the most confidence in now, playing on the road, which is kind of crazy. I still have super confidence in Jalen Brunson, but with Jalen Brunson comes a limitation with size. They can swarm him, they can trap him, blitz and be aggressive. But Julius Randle is just a physical mismatch, and skill-wise, he can do it all. You'll see in Coach's breakdown, if Bam, there was a couple of plays where Bam Adebayo gave him some space, and Randle hit the step back. There was a couple of possessions where Bam came up on Randle, and Randle did the quick swipe move action and a beeline to the cup, was able to get separation on that also. So Julius Randle's figured things out. He's playing with patience. He's playing with confidence against the Miami Heat. Man, you even see him posting these mixtapes on his social media. So he's hyped up. He's loving this moment, playing in the Mecca, in front of the world's most famous and the best fan base. Julius Randle's feel like he's got a new lease on things now. A second go around in the playoffs. Also, coaches mentioned, John Schmelk mentioned on our show last night, Kevin Love they don't want Kevin Love playing 30 plus minutes. That could be the series there. If Kevin Love has to play 30 plus in game 3 and 4, that's not going to be great for the Heat, I don't feel. So Caleb Martin is a dude they want to try to play more, get small, and I don't think that's working out. Yeah, Knicks need to run that Heat off the 3-point line. Completely agree. That's key also. It's fairly obvious Duncan Robinson, that's all he's out there for, fam, is to shoot the 3. Run him off the line. Also, Gabe Vincent, Max Strauss, these dudes have been hurting us from the 3 ball. Jerry says Knicks in 5. I love that. If we win game 3 and 4, sign me up to Knicks in 5. And hedge in the pick and roll. Yeah. They're definitely going to target Brunson again and again and try to see what that ankle is like. Even coach tonight mentioned the New York Knicks should target Jimmy buckets also. You know, a 3-day rest off of the ankle sprain. I don't care if you're He-Man or The Rock. You know, an ankle is an ankle. Go at it, man. Test it out. See what it's like. You know. Also, you get Jimmy working on the defensive side. He's going to have less energy on the offensive side, and he's always going to have energy, but less energy, which is big. You know, don't allow Jimmy buckets to stand in the corner there doing nothing. You know, that's crazy, right? So I know Tom Thibodeau's offense gets a lot of critique, reading and reacting, but it's the players that need to read and react, assess the situation sometimes, keep a cool head on the floor late. I'm looking for Jalen Brunson's leadership on the road, Julius Randle not getting emotional or not losing himself in the moment, just stay fully focused on this thing. We know it's going to be a fairly pro Knicks crowd, but if the Heat start well, hitting shots, we're allowing silly makes and defensive blunders, the crowd is going to get into it. And on the road, you don't want that. You don't want to allow that to happen. So I think we're going to work our way quarter by quarter in Game 3, stay in the game, make it a physical battle if we have to. Just don't let the Heat gain any advantage in the game. And I think late, the pressure is going to set in for the home team, especially, we're all waiting on the Gabe Vincent, Strauss, Robinson, Lowry, Martin down game. It's about time some of those players played a down game. And could it be Jimmy Butler coming back? Like many have said, that might disrupt the flow. EJ mentioned last night, you add one thing and you might lose another thing. The Heat played a different style in Game 2, which was move the ball fast, play fast, shoot the ball quick, and shoot a lot of threes. A hell of a lot of threes. Now Jimmy Butler back, he's not a high volume 3-point shooter. So it's going to be a situation where, the Knicks can key in. Dirty says Miami is just small across the board, and it's why we are dominating in the boards, 34-50. Great point. Let's hope that continues. Mitch staying out of foul trouble. Isaiah's hustle and muscle. Yeah. Jerry echoes the same thing. Yeah, we're out rebounding them by about 15 to 20. How can they beat us? The problem in Game 2 is they weren't missing much. That's the key. And Jimmy Butler is an excellent rebounder as well. So best believe he's going to try all this, gamesmanship tactics where he's going to hook. He's going to probably try to hook Julius Randle's arm. Fall back, get every single foul call he can possibly get, because we know the refs are going to give Jimmy calls. He's going to get the superstar calls in Miami. Best believe that. We got to be prepared for that ish. Miami only chance is to pray to variance by hitting a ton of threes, keep it close, then out savvy us. Yep. I think Kyle Lowry is the big factor on there. I mentioned, I don't think Bam Adebayo has stepped up as much. He's never really been an offensive-minded dude. He's been excellent defensively, of course, but again, if we make it a high-scoring game, the Heat shooters need to get hot, because with Brunson, Randle, and RJ hitting the groove, man, if we can score 110, 120, grind it out, I like our chances. Yeah, Brunson figured them out. Second half, Game 2, we good. It's up to Spoelstra now. What's he going to throw at us now? Let's see. This is a huge series for Tom Thibodeau. No doubt he's coaching against a supreme tactician in Eric Spoelstra. Good credit to him for getting his team where it is. But limitations are going to set in eventually. Like EJ says, and I love this analogy, eventually players play to the stats on the back of their card. Yeah, ball movement cutting, Luke, 100% agree. Wings need to cut more instead of watching Brunson go 1v1. Yep. And yeah, be mindful of your position on the court to create space. Josh Hart's excellent at that. Obi Toppin, excellent at cutting. I'd love to see Quentin Grimes also make a lot of cuts as well. We got some Heat Nation in the building as well. Give us your thoughts other than just clowning. Talk about how you think the Heat can win, because it's going to be a battle. Best believe that. The Knicks will not roll over on this series. It's going to go 6 or 7. Yeah, Knicks D is legit. We try to hang our hat on defense. It's been pretty poor recently. Let's lock these shooters down. Let's lock them down. And if you look at this chart, right, this is really what Tom Thibodeau wants anyways, Tom Thibodeau never really been mid-range dude. He likes rim penetration, get into the paint, or shoot a lot of threes. So this is what the Heat are going to give us if it's zone. Put our best shooters out there, hit shots early, and bust that zone open. You cannot play zone for 48 minutes. It's not going to work. Their best bet is to sprinkle that zone in and around, and then bit of man-to-man, all of that stuff. But like I said, I think Julius Randle, I think Jalen Brunson's figured things out. RJ Barrett, knifing into the teeth of the zone on the catch. Another thing going for the Knicks is physicality. Dirty's mentioned it. John Schmelk mentioned it. Knicks Nation mentioned it. With hustle of Hart, Mitch, Hartenstein, Randall's physicality. Brunson's physical, he's a dog. Grimes can be a dog. I think we can out-physical the Miami Heat. It's time to test that now and out-physical them. I think we lost game 1 because Kyle Lowry got the better of that situation. The veteran savviness of Kyle. He made some critical plays, the strip, one-on-one late, hit some big shots. Kyle Lowry's a champion as well. He's going to give his best, man. Also, another Villanova dog. He doesn't want to lose to his Villanova brothers, Brunson and Hart. So that's spurring Kyle Lowry on. Also, he's a big fan of Tom Thibodeau. He's Kyle Lowry. He paid, he's always paid Tibbs respect, but he's paying the Knicks respect also. So I think Kyle Lowry is really taken this challenge seriously, for whatever he's got left in the tank. I think, like people have said, game 3, we're going to see the best of Kyle Lowry in this game with the old legs, 3 days rest and all of that stuff. I would like to see Tibbs go at Kyle a bit, challenge him defensively, also try to limit his production offensively is going to be key. Me personally, I live and die by the sword. I want to give Jimmy Butler all the looks possible. Just lock down everybody else. I don't care if Jimmy goes for 40, 50. I think that's the best way. If the Heat role players support Jimmy and get hot, that's their best chance to win. If the Knicks can shut down those Heat role players and just let Jimmy go isolation and freeze everybody out, I think that's the best chance. Everyone's going to lose their rhythm. Everyone's going to get nervous defensively. They're going to get frustrated. So, yeah, Jimmy coming back might disrupt the flow a bit. I say let him go 1v1 versus Hart and try to put up 40 on us. I like our chances. After being terrible all year, Lowry decided to show up for one game, then went back to his hole. Age and attrition, man, is coming up. Luke says our refs took a lot of flack for game 2. They're the wild card. Man, you said it. Yep. Be interesting to see who the officials are in this one. Like I said, we got Tony Brothers, I think game 1, Scott Foster game 2. I think the NBA is looking at this series knowing it's going to get chippy, man. It's going to get physical, all of that and more. And I said last night on the show, the stakes are going to get higher after every single game, right? Someone's going to go down 2-1 after the next game, and then it's going to be game on 4. It's going to get super physical. One thing Tibbs did adjust to well, which was our transition defense. We got back, no Kevin Love outlet, touchdown passes. So that was good. We didn't need to see that no more. That killed us in game 1. What I want to see in game 2 is Mitch and Hartenstein stay on their feet. Don't bite on these pump fakes. That's what they're going to try to do. Jimmy's going to pump fake all the time. Bam, pump fake. Kyle Lowry, pump fake. Just stay on your feet. Make them make the shot, especially early in the game. There ain't no need to be heavily contesting a shot 9 minutes into the first quarter of the game, like Mitchell Robinson was doing. I get you want to defend well. You want to show that you're locked in, but lock in later in the game. You don't need to be picking up too early fouls, fam, on that. Just let them make the layup. At the end of the day, none of these and one plays or cheap fouls, So discipline. Jerry says we lost game 1 because not including Obi. Nick shot 13%. That was lousy. That won't happen again. It hasn't happened. Yeah, facts. Yep. Yeah, Butler's treated like Spider, old head. Yep. Man. If you notice the national media, ESPN, all of this ish, they keep posting Jimmy Butler, sound bites, Jimmy Butler videos, all of that ish, The NBA wants this theater. They want it, man. They want him to be the villain bad. Yeah, 100% Kaiser. Get that hand up. Yeah. Hand down, man down with that situation. I think we're good if we clean up these missed assignments, the rotation issues, like what happened. I think we gave the Heat at least like 2, 3, 4 open looks on miscommunications only. So that's big. Contest well, 100%. Execute Tom Thibodeau's scheme. 40% Knick fans in the building. Miami Square Garden showing out in South Beach. That's going to be huge also. Let's listen for the chants. Yep. Dirty's paying hats off to the Heat, though, because they played nearly perfect in game 1 and still almost lost with us missing Randle. Yeah, no doubt. Near perfect. They almost lost. We didn't attack Jimmy with 5 minutes remaining. We shot 20%. Obi, 4 of 11. Hart, 0 of 4. Brunson, 0 of 7 as well. That's not going to happen. Also, I've been looking at the way the Knicks shoot on the road in Miami. They've been shooting really well. Shooting efficient from 3. Randle shooting 38% from deep. All of that ish. Miami going backpacking, paddle boarding, Cancun, Bahamas after this series. Best believe that. But I think it's going to go 7. And I think the Knicks are going to close it out at MSG in front of the world's most famous, the best fans in the arena in the world. A lot of news buzzing around. Give us your thoughts on the Bud. Coach Budenholzer getting fired. Giannis Antetokounmpo. All this rumors swirling today that, he's obviously going to be looking at the situation hard. The coaching appointment in Milwaukee, man, is going to be huge. That is going to be a big situation. Look, tough timing, given what happened personally with Coach, but it's a business, It's always been about business. I think Coach Bud just didn't hit the right buttons, and maybe they just need a new voice, It's tough. I am a fan of continuity. I think 1 year you can be down and bounce back. It happens, the Miami Heat made the finals in the bubble. The next year, they didn't even make the playoffs. And then they bring some similar core back, and here they are again. So I don't know. Sometimes you need a slight tweak. But, if you have a coach like Spoelstra and a system, I guess you can stick with that system. The biggest question was Coach Bud, and his system, with that. But I'm not taking a minute of this for granted. This is Knicks Nation in the playoffs now. God knows, man, we've been watching so much NBA basketball and Knicks basketball for years without any reward. Here we are. It's nothing pretty, but this is a young team. 24 years old, average rotation age, bright future ahead. We got cash in the bank, draft picks, fans, all of those things. I'm lapping it up. You're right. If you're not having fun at this point, then I can respect that. It's tight, but just try to find a way to enjoy this. Try to find a way, because it's a battle. This is what playing at the elite level is like, at the highest level. For those too young to see the Knicks in the NBA Finals in 99, 94, 72, I mean, this is what it was like. It was like game to game. Like, can this dude not blow a layup? Can this dude pull a critical rebound? Can this dude not foul? It comes down to those kind of moments, in the playoffs that separates winning and losing. It's a very fine line between, misery and victory. With that said, the Heat's trying to do everything they can to step in our way. This series would be different with Tyler Hero, obviously Victor Oladipo. But even with those players, the Knicks have played them well in the regular season, and we gotta maintain our focus and our confidence. Never lose confidence with what we're doing. What's good, Tom Hen? Game 2 is turned around. Yeah, when you was benched with 7 minutes, when Jay was benched with 7 minutes and down 6 points and shut down Vincent Grimes. We're still waiting on a Grimes and a Quickly, game. No, there doesn't need to be a 26-point explosion. Just a 14-point, 5 assists, 3 steals, a playoff moment for those young men. And I think it's going to come. I think there's plenty more games. Game 3, 4. There's going to be Game 5. I think the Knicks get better as the series prevails. It happened in Cleveland. We got more comfortable. We start to figure out where we have the edge, and we exploit that. Also, I don't want people to underestimate Julius Randle's rebounding. Right, averaged 9.7 rebounds against the Heat in 5 games. That's basically a chance to give him a double-double. Basically, you could say Julius Randle's a walking double-double in the 5 games against the Heat, but with 6.4 assists, also 3.5 turnovers in 36 minutes average. In 159 minutes, he's a plus 20. Also, so if Jimmy's a mismatch and they want to exploit that, then Julius Randle, exploit him. Get him down low, get him running downhill. If they sag off, he's going to hit the 3-point shot. He's shooting with confidence and with volume too. It ain't like Julius's 3-point attempts aren't on volume as well. Shooting 38%. Against the Heat in volume. Heat Knicks going back and forth like the good old days, hey? Miami Square Garden going to represent out there. Love everyone watching who's going to be in the building or has been in the Heat building before. Give us a shout out in the comments. Replay gang, salute. Another factor in this situation is a matinee. I'm Me personally, I'm sick of these matinees. I like the nighttime, the prime time action. But you know what? We got to make the best of it. We got to win one. Go out celebrate in South Beach after winning Game 3, and we can hit the beach after pulling out Game 3. Right? Do your day work, get it done, and then go out and do some things. But um, the rebounding battle, 34 to 50 in Game 2. The Knicks, with Mitchell Robinson out of foul trouble, I think will continue to dominate. Julius Randle will dominate the rebounds. Uh, it's only a matter of time before Bam and Kevin Love and co get worn down trying to battle those guys on the boards. And then you got a guy like Josh Hart skying from the clouds to pull one in. That's a menace for the Heat to continue to deal with. Also, similar to Kyle Lowry, what he tries to do, but he's 6'2", 6'3". Also, you know, I like our big gamers late. Josh Hart, ability to hit free throws. Cannot say enough about him. He is so good at hitting clutch free throws, and hitting clutch threes. Also, we saw Jalen Rose pay props to Josh Hart, Kendrick Perkins on ESPN. About the role players, the heart of all hearts for role players, Josh Hart. Um, I have so much confidence in him. On the floor late. Also, he's just a winning player. Villanova in the NBA now, drawing critical and one plays. He knows when to dribble, drive, knows when to drive and kick, knows when to pull up and hit it. Just experience. 28 years old, one of the elder statesmen in this team. He's all about it. Is Josh Hart. Also, the love, the respect he got with Brunson. That's a special connection. What we've been seeing in the post-match press conferences. These guys are having fun in front of the New York media, national media. I'm looking for that. That joy to play. They play with to continue. Those guys are just epitomized tough in the dictionary. If you look up toughness, you'll see Brunson and Hart in the dictionary. Also, that's what we need to win these series. Sometimes it ain't going to be pretty. It's going to be toughness that's going to win us a game. Won't be surprised if there's a 1-point game, a 3-point ball game that wins one of these games. We saw a 7-point game in Game 1, and we saw a 6-point game in Game 2. Eventually, there's going to be a game, as much as it pains me to say it, is going to be a game that's going to come down to a singular bucket, a single possession, I think. So, yeah, hitting free throws is big. I think the trust Tibbs has in Mitchell Robinson is very, very admirable. Continues to put Mitch in the ball game late, despite the Heat haven't tried to hack a Mitch yet. Could that be a factor at some point? I think as long as Mitch can continue to split those free throws, it ain't pretty, but he's shooting maybe 50%, above 50%. So if he continues to split the free throws, maybe that deters the Heat. He's not great, but it ain't like he's a Ben Simmons or Andre Drummond or someone like that. I think just practice. Also, I want to see Mitch practice these late free throws. And we Gucci out here. So as we buzzing, still talking about what we spoke with Coach Nick about the situation. Coach Nick can see the Knicks winning this one if it goes 7, in MSG. But he feels like Game 3 is the most critical game, I think. The New York Knicks' ability to edge with Julius Randle, he agrees with that. He thinks RJ Barrett is a pivotal player in this series with the form coming in. He's going to reach out to Drew Hanlon and figure out what exactly was done. Did he really change some mechanics? In series, that's going to be crazy to look at. But whatever's happened, Barrett's been flipped the switch. Basically, he's a big-time player for this moment now. How does he look on the road is going to be huge. Also, did the Miami Heat try to adjust now and game plan to try to take something away from Barrett? Right? Do not underestimate the adjustments coming from Eric Spoelstra. He knows basketball. He knows what's important to the Knicks' success. So that's going to be interesting. I think they might start bringing some help on Barrett, knowing that he does have a tendency to turn the ball over or get stripped. It's one thing, RJ Barrett, if he's shooting well, you tip your cap. But if RJ Barrett's driving, the handle is a little bit high at times, and he can get stripped as well. So they might start to bring some help on a Barrett drive as well. They've got to bring the help on a Julius Randle drive, because he can really tuck the ball under his arm strong. That's what I love about Julius. When he drives, he protects the ball. He's very difficult to strip. Obviously the strongest man on the team. He's a freight train, ready to barrel into that bucket as well. 3 days rest, just great news. No Julius on the injury report. No Brunson on the injury report. Let's get it. I'm hyped up as we get ready to wrap this show up, fam. We out here buzzing, right? Only hours away from Game 3. New York Knicks, Miami Heat. We hit South Beach, Miami Square Garden, ready to show out as well. Full of confidence. We've got to get in there and steal Game 3 and pile the pressure onto the Heat. Be disciplined. Attack the zone. Attack, dribble, kick out. Shoot better, but also close out on their shooters as well. My keys are let Jimmy Butler get loose a little bit, because I think that's key to limit the touches of these other role players. Try to force more turnovers as well. Throw in some blitz or trap from time to time. We got to get more turnovers from the Heat. But I will say this: don't overreact. If the Knicks don't pull out Game 3, we've still got Game 4. We still got Game 6. I feel this is going to go deep, right? It's a chess match and survival of the fittest. The Knicks got more depth. The Knicks got a smart coach still. Can Tibbs make the right adjustments? Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley, I'm looking at you. Step up big, hit 5 threes, do something. Defend well, play on your instincts, and we'll have a great chance, man. My prediction is Knicks pull out Game 3, 106 to 101. We here, baby. And I'll be there post-game live right after the game. Have a great night. Salute, and see you there.